Alright, what's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. Actually, I've got a lot of interesting stories for you guys today. We've got a lot to cover. So first, I want to start out with this physique update, a posing video from Regan Grimes at a little under 2 weeks out from the Flex Pro Italy. So I just want to clarify, not this weekend, but next weekend is the Italy show on September 9th and the 10th. Now, the week after that show is going to be the European Championships. That's the Spain show. And that's going to be starting on the 17th of September. So, not this weekend. These guys are just under 2 weeks out that we're talking about in this video. And honestly, I think this is the most impressive update that I've seen from Regan so far. And again, it makes me think that potentially this is the time that it's going to be different. His back looks really thick, really dense, but really detailed. And seeing an actual video of him posing, seeing it in motion, I think adds a different dimension than just the photos of his back that we had seen so far. You can see that he's in shape. You can see the detail and the vascularity all throughout his back. You can see the fibers in his hamstrings firing and popping as he's hitting the shots. You can see how there's barely any wrinkles forming in his lower back. That means the skin there is thin and tight, and he's in really good shape. I mean, looking at what we've seen from Regan so far, I'm very optimistic, and I think this could be one of the best versions of him we've ever seen. He looks, like I said, during this prep, he looked a lot bigger all throughout the prep, especially further out when we weren't seeing as much detail from him. He looked very big, very full. Still, even here in good shape, to me, he looks significantly bigger. He looks like he's put on significant stage weight, actual muscle mass. And maybe this is the show that's going to be different for him, and maybe we see him on the Olympia stage. But it's not going to be an easy show. So we got confirmation today that GoodVito is actually going to be doing both shows, not just the European Championships, which would make the Flex Pro Italy show his actual pro debut. So first we got these two updates from his coach. You get a back lat spread and a front double bicep. Obviously, I think the front double bicep is pretty arguably his best pose of all his poses. It really shows off his width. It really shows off the size of his arms. It really shows off his legs well. Everything about that pose for him, I think, is just a very, very solid pose for GoodVito. And for me, he's a really, really big wild card in these lineups. Depending on how he looks here, he could either just have a really good pro debut and wind up in the first call out and do pretty well against some more established pros, or I think it's just as likely that he could win both of these shows. I think he's that good. I think the size that he has and the condition that we've seen him bring in the past, we don't know how it's going to look yet on a pro stage against established, seasoned, probably bigger pros. Some of these guys probably are a bit bigger than him. But that's why I think he's a wild card here, because I think this could really go any which way for him. I don't really see him being like a second or third call-out guy at these shows. I see him being in the conversation at both of them, and I think it could either be he's like top 3, top 5, or he just wins the show. And he also posted this back double bicep shot on his story. Now, when I say this about GoodVito, about the variable placings, I really don't think we're going to see a bad pro debut from him. I don't think we're going to see him completely shit the bed, per se. I think even if he's not at 100%, even if he's slightly off, I can see him being at the top of both of these lineups. Now, to be honest, the recent updates that I've seen from him, including this back double bicep, I don't think he's looked really different over the past couple weeks. I haven't seen any really significant changes in his conditioning, or really any significant changes as far as the amount of detail that he's showing. I'd say for the past 3 or 4 weeks or so, he's looked pretty consistently the same. But I think after watching that video of Regan Grimes, I think Regan's got a thicker, denser back than GoodVito. And I think he's showing a little bit more detail as well. And I think it'll be interesting because all these physiques are so different. GoodVito is a shorter guy. I don't think he's one of the shortest guys in the pro league, but he is shorter. Regan is a taller guy. Nathan is going to be in this lineup. He's on the taller end. Blessing is on the taller end. I don't know for sure which one or both if Carlos Thomas Jr. is doing Texas, or I'm sorry, not Texas, but Spain or Italy. But if he's in that lineup, I think we could really see just some apples and oranges comparisons like we saw at the Texas Pro, and I think that really makes a show interesting. A guy like Andrew versus Hunter, you could have a guy like GoodVito versus Nathan, or GoodVito versus Regan. I think they're going to be very different looks that they bring. And I really do think that these two shows are setting themselves up to be two of the most exciting of the year. I think these are going to be two battles. I think we could see, two different champions at both shows. We could see the placings change in just a matter of 1 week in between. And so whoever wins in Italy, we're almost guaranteed that we're going to get a rematch in Spain, which I think makes this very exciting. So let's talk a little bit more about the Masters Olympia. So We didn't really talk much in the last video about Jay Cutler. Jay Cutler was obviously, he was, I guess, the ambassador for the Masters Olympia. I didn't see at any point during the actual show Jay do any posing. He gave kind of a speech, he presented some awards, and he just kind of talked on stage. I don't think he even took his shirt off on the stage. We were kind of anticipating maybe not a guest posing because he said he wasn't going to be doing that, but maybe he was going to hit a few poses and just showcase the physique that he had brought, because he really transformed his physique for this Fit for 50 thing, and a lot of fans were looking forward to seeing it. I don't think we saw that on the Masters Olympia stage. However, while he was out there, we did get to see him train and pose with none other than Urs Kausinski, the Miracle Bear. Now, I think we mostly just got to see a little bit of Jay's legs, and we got to see a little bit of his abs as well, which we had seen a lot of during the build-up to this, during the Fit for 50 transformation itself. And his legs look really pretty good, especially if you look at the size comparison of him and Urs. They're pretty comparable. I mean, for a guy that's 50 versus a guy that's in his early 20s, mid-20s, you're looking at this from the perspective of size, Jay's holding up pretty well. And I got to say, again, when you look at Urs Kausinski, I don't know how anybody cannot be impressed with the consistent level of conditioning that Urs brings to that classic physique stage. We're still 10 weeks out from the Olympia right now. 10 weeks. And look at Urs's quads. Cross striations, deep, carved, cut, cross-striated conditioning in his legs at 10 weeks out. You're not seeing that from any men's open bodybuilders right now that are 10 weeks out, unless they just competed. Maybe like a Hunter Labrada because he just qualified, but as far as Urs Kausinski, I don't know how you can't be impressed with just time after time, consistently, is just always in shape. And this is a guy we were talking about just a couple months ago that was weighing 275, and everyone's like, how is he going to make weight and suck down to that classic physique weight limit? And you look at him here, and it's like, Jesus, this guy's ripped to the bone. I'm actually very curious to know what he's weighing in this update. And again, he's on the taller end of that classic physique height and weight limit. So he's not going to get as much weight increase as the shorter guys, but he will get some. So he can come in a little bit bigger. So I think that's something to consider. Like I said, when we talked about Ramon Dino, like when we talk about Terrence, you look at these guys and how they're looking now, and you've got to keep in mind, this might affect some guys differently, that they can come back bigger. It might be slightly, but it's significant. And I think that even before that, Urs had a little bit of wiggle room from his last competition, what he weighed on stage versus what he was allowed to weigh. I think he might have said he had like 10 pounds. He was like 10 pounds under. So when we're talking about him weighing 275 in the offseason, we could see him come in like 15 pounds heavier at this year's Olympia, and he's already ripped to the bone. So we could see something really impressive from him. I've got my eye on Urs. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to surprise people. Now, the final story that I've got for you guys today, the freak, the monster, Michael Krizo, posting his first real physique update since qualifying for the Olympia, 10 weeks out, the freak factor that you would expect from Krizo. And I'm actually surprised at how tan he is in this update, because typically Michael Krizo is one of those more pale complexion white guys in the gym. And I think in some cases under like that goon light, that pale complexion could look a little bit freakier because of the contrast and the shadowing. So the more pale that you are under certain goon light, it could make your physique look even freakier and grainier than it actually is versus someone that was tan in that lighting scenario. It's a little bit weird because when you're on stage and the lights are that bright, the tan helps you, because if you're pale, those lights would flush you out. But in like a goon light gym situation, I think it actually helps a little bit to be on the paler side, because those shadows and those cuts are shown through the contrast of the darkness of the shadow and the paleness of the skin. So the more contrast there is, the deeper and more separated those cuts look. But anyway, Krizo here looks more tan than he usually looks. And for one of the guys that we consider to be a mass monster going into this lineup, pretty shredded. Striations all through the chest, all through the shoulders, vascularity. The midsection looks like it's got some catching up to do, but pretty deep cuts in the quads. Arms are pretty vascular. Vascularity on the traps. The guy's clearly in shape. But I think it's going to be really the midsection and some of the back poses that I'm going to be looking for improved conditioning, a little bit more detail from Krizo, because he's kind of got a weird situation with his abs where it's only like 4 of them that are visible when he's posing, and that's what you can see here. You can't really see those bottom 2 abs. And if you put him in a lineup with guys with a similar height and a bigger frame like Andrew Jacked, and Andrew Jacked has like the same size as a Krizo, but one of the best midsections in bodybuilding. That's one of those things where everybody looks good on their own. Then you put them next to somebody that exposes a weak point. That's one of the things that I think will hold Krizo back, is he needs deeper, more separated, clearly defined abs on stage, especially when comparable physiques like Andrew Jack are going up against him that have Mona Lisa midsections. So that's going to wrap it up for the video, guys. I hope you did, in fact, enjoy it. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. Click that bell notification icon to be notified every time I upload so you don't miss any of the latest bodybuilding news. And as always, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at Nick Strength Power. My Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power. My secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.